Okay, perfect. All right. So thank y'all for being here. And can y'all remind me of what roles y'all are playing?
Um, so it did say board member, so I guess like a general board member is
Okay.
what we're doing. Yeah.
Okay. I did, yeah, awesome. I didn't know if they had given like specific um like titles. So I sent out that memo yesterday, so hopefully y'all had a chance to look over it. And the first thing I want to talk about is just like introduce myself. I'm Kinsley. I'm here to give recommendations. And I first want to introduce just Rocks and Pebbles and give just like a short rundown of what we currently do and what we're going to be talking about this meeting. So we have this table of contents. The first thing we're going to go through is what we currently do as Rocks and Pebbles, and then I'm going to talk about what analysis I did to figure out what we should do going on. So to start, here's our current marketing mix. And marketing mix is normally made up of the four P's. So that's how I did it and decided that product, as we know, um, we have a dog daycare and free roam boarding. And that's unique because all the other competitors don't do free roam boarding. And we also have the dog school that we offer and also the cafe. And our price, we have competitive pricing, but we're also very flexible. Sinha, she likes to have a lot of lenience with her customers. And if they have to cancel, she'll like allow them to do that and like not pay a fee, that sort of thing. And for our third P, our place, we have a park that's right outside the city. It's like a 30-minute drive max. It has really good parking, which was like a complaint that a lot of the other dog parks have is that there's nowhere to park. And it's like a very dog-centric environment, meaning it's like an open space and a lot of room for dogs to run. And finally, our promotion, we use Google listing. We like try to use some SEO and also social media. But something that I think makes us the most unique is our use of WhatsApp. And because we have like specific WhatsApp chats with our current customers to like foster that relationship. And finally, we have newspaper ads and pamphlets that we hand out to people like in neighborhoods that we feel like are a target audience. So I want to stop here and ask y'all if y'all have anything y'all would like to add or any questions about the current marketing mix, if y'all feel like anything is left out or that sort of thing.
I was gonna say I think you covered it. Like the main points for me were like the points of differentiation. So like the free roam boarding, I think that's like a great thing that we offer. That differs a lot from the other kind of competitors. And I think one thing you might have mentioned or touched on was like the pickup drop-off system with the van. I think that's a great kind of thing that we offer for people that can't, drive out themselves. That's like a really good product offering that we have.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the pickup drop off. That's something that, since we have that van designated for that service, later on I'm going to be talking about a possible like delivery service for the dog food. And so that could like go in well. So glad you brought that up as well. Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah, I was interested in the flexible pricing as well. I think that's very useful as a customer, but I was a little bit worried moving forward as like the brand, like how that would be sustainable moving forward.
Yeah, I have some of the same questions because looking at like all these words, it looks great and everything, but as we've seen in the income statement, like Rocks and Pebbles is struggling in ways. So I agree with you, Priscilla. Hopefully there's a way that we can look at the flexible pricing and make some tweaks that can allow us to, break even at least, or hopefully make a profit. So thank y'all for y'all's insights. Now we're going to move on to SWOT analysis. So using our current marketing mix, I was able to think about, okay, out of the things that we currently do, what is our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? So I think our biggest strength is we do have two things that are completely unique to our competitors, which is the free roam boarding and also the dog school. So the dog school, it's not just training. It's like think about it as school is like what kids go to. You know, it's a place for them to spend the day while their parents are at work, and they still learn, but it's not just training. And so I think those are two of our strengths because it makes us different from our competitors. And also the fact that we have very strong customer relationship. Reading about like the way Sinha runs the business, it was like really shocking to me like how much he actually talks to the customers, and I think that's really great and another like point that we can use for leverage later on. And weaknesses, like we were talking about, the fact that we're in financial loss 2 years in a row is hard. And now that COVID is kind of in the rearview mirror, we really want to make sure that we turn that around. Also, that we have high staff turnover. Our staff is heavily involved, and if they are continuing like leaving and we're having to train new people, that takes up a lot of resources. And also, so for our opportunities, we have the fact that our dog school could expand. Sinha mentioned she was looking to double that by next year, and also a pet food delivery service. There's another competitor that does that, but it's not that saturated of a market. So maybe that's something we could get into. And also, we could start to cater more towards the actual pet parents by doing cafe scaling and like park beautification or like ambiance change. And then finally, our threats can include high competition, the cyclical nature of business. I think it's like January through March is normally a dead period. And also, it's very labor intensive and there's some safety concerns. So, is there anything here that is there any weakness or threat that y'all feel like is specifically like really scary for our business?
I was definitely gonna say the kind of financial loss from like the flexible model, as Priscilla mentioned. Like, I think it is great to keep customer rapport, but like at what length do we go? You know, I remember Sinha, even if it was like 5 minutes before they had canceled, she would be kind of lenient with them. But I wonder if there's a way we could kind of address that to where it, you know, protects the customer, but also us, like kind of like a middle ground.
Yeah, I agree. Like it, we want to build rapport with these customers and be able to be flexible with them. But if we do it to the extent to where our business has to close, that helps no one. So I agree with you, Tanya. Is there anything you like to say, Priscilla?
Yeah, that was probably my main concern, but also because it's in the weakness and the threat, just like the staffing issue that's going on at the moment. Um, I'd like to see how we could also like resolve that.
Yes. Um, yeah, I was reading the staff hours and the fact that the activities start at 5 a.m. and end at 9 p.m. They live on site. So, like, staff is our biggest expense on our income statement. So, that's definitely something that if we are able to, like, cut labor intensity or do it in a way that makes it, like, have increased labor intensity, but it's also, like, increasing revenue. So, that's something that I will talk about a little bit later with our opportunity matrix. So, yeah, thank you all for y'all's insights. And so now that we've kind of talked about what position we're currently in as Rocks and Pebbles, I'm going to go into the market opportunity matrix, which is trying to see what we have now and look forward to see what would be the best option. So I created this table, and I know it is like kind of a lot to look at, but I'm going to explain it to hopefully it's like more digestible. So the first thing I thought about was the criteria that you have that we're going to look at for our market opportunities. And the way that I did that is just think about like company objective and also like financial metrics, other customer needs, just some of the things that are like the most important metrics to having a successful business. So I ended up choosing um, so Sinha's like tagline is "We make your dogs happy." So I think that's the core positioning of the company, and I think that any market opportunity we go after needs to align with that core company. I mean that core value, because if we stray too far from that and stop thinking about the actual pets that we're servicing, we can lose like brand identity. And then next is the fact that we are current company capabilities, which is we have unique services. I know I've said that a lot, but we have two unique services that we provide that our competitors don't. So really leveraging that, I think, would be important. And the unique services in this case are the dog school and the free roam boarding, and also the personal bonds that we have. And then the next thing is, of course, the most important thing is customer needs. So why create a product that no one needs? So I would say that the core of our customer needs is a safe social environment for pets and their parents. And that's like the baseline of what people are looking for at Rocks and Pebbles. So I would want to make sure that anything we do moving forward fulfills those needs. Next, a big one is increase revenue. We have to be able to increase revenue to be able to turn our loss to profit. So that's something that really we're looking at. And then external forces, the most attractive external forces that we have is the fact that in India, pet humanization is rising. So there was the statistic used in the case that was like, it was the pet industry or pet supply services industry was going to grow by like 5% per year. And also, just more people are starting to see pets as equal members of the family. So, that external force is very important to helping our products moving forward. And finally, labor needed. That was the biggest expense on our income statement. So, really wanted to make sure that what we choose can optimize the labor that we need. So those are the criteria. So are there any criteria or any ones that I listed or anything else that y'all feel like should be on this list? What do y'all feel about the criteria I use to analyze the market opportunities?
Yeah, I would say these kind of cover it, especially like kind of knowing our company capabilities. I think a big part of Rocks and Pebbles is like being able to differentiate. So kind of understanding like where the bounds of our unique services go. I thought that was very important.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I think it looks great. I think the only thing was that the cafe and ambiance revamp. Um, I think I agree with it at 3, but how come you didn't like put it at like 4? Because I think that's pretty different than any other like dog parks that were around like the area.
I read something that um, other places had cafes as well, and theirs might have even been more upscaled. Let me check. I'll stop sharing for 1 second and pull that up, the line that I read in the case.
Okay. No, yeah, thank you.
Oh, no problem. Um, mm, okay, so it says on average, an Indian pet parent spent around 56 per month, while 75 to 80 went towards food and treats. The rest comprised grooming and other services like day boarding, pet walking, and vacation homes. Pet cafes, too, were contributing to the ecosystem. For example, Twisty Tails, a pet cafe based in Chennai in southern India, had a revenue of 0.42, I think that's million, in 2018, the first year it set up. And then it talked about another one had an exclusive dog park set up in 2018. Um, that's why I still think it differentiates us. But that's why I said that it was a little bit less, because in the case it referenced at least one other place that had it. And for the, let me share my screen again. And for um, the other ones, it didn't, it like explicitly mentioned that none of the other places had similar services.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up for me. That helps a lot.
No
And I
problem.
one kind of follow-up question. For the dog food delivery service, I guess I was wondering kind of what made it like a 2 for the customer needs. Is it because it's not like park-based? Is it because it's like a different service? Or was there something that kind of said that they wouldn't be as willing to pay for dog food delivery?
Yeah, I was just, and this is because of the limits around the case, this is something that I did kind of have to use my own like
Mhm.
as opinions. And I feel like dog food is one of those things that it's offered like every single corner store will probably sell it. So there's a lot of other ways to satisfy that need. I think the need that needs the need of like a dog school or like a cafe or something like that, a pet cafe, there's less ways to solve that need. So that's why I ranked it lower. And I also just kind of thought that like needing to have pet food delivered, there's probably a smaller amount of people that like need that because that's like a very you have to be very, very short on time or like a very, very busy person to be able to be willing to pay for that service. So that was like my thoughts behind it.
That makes sense. Yeah. I was also going to bring up, I feel like in India, like a lot of people make homemade food for dogs. So that I agree with you in the sense that like they might not be willing to pay for outside because they're willing to make it at home. So that makes sense. But wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, great question. Any other like rankings on here that y'all would like clarification on?
I think I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then I just want to touch shortly on the three market opportunities that um, I chose. And the first one, dog food delivery, that would be a new product in a current market. So that is, let me fact check. I think that's product development. Yeah, I think that's product development. Um, I'm gonna say it's product development. And then dog school expansion would be a current product in a current market. So that's market penetration. And then cafe and ambiance revamp would be um, a current product because we already have a cafe, so it'd be a current product, but kind of a new market because I justified it as a new market because since we're a very dog centric firm, if we start catering more towards the parents, I think that that does kind of bring in like a new audience because people I think that come here to Rocks Pebbles now are really just looking for a place like what their dogs enjoy the most. But if this has like if it has an increased um, presence for parents, it might bring in a little bit of different people. So those are like the three um, squares and like Ansoff's matrix that I hit. So, yeah, those are the three. And then now we can move on to like the results, our findings. So I just totaled up the rows, and this is what ranked the highest. The first being dog school expansion, the second being dog food delivery, and then the third being cafe and ambiance revamp. And yeah, so obviously, dog school expansion holds like it was increased by was a higher overall score by 8 points. So that made it very clear to me that that's something that we should pursue based off the market opportunity matrix. And so then I created some reasons, like some justifications of why this is the best. So this is kind of what I was talking about with the criteria. This really just shows how it hits all of our criteria and why it's the best. So the fact that it scored the highest, it aligns with our purpose. It really focuses on where we can get competitive edge. It increases revenue, and I'll talk about in a second, like real, like how it will increase revenue. And then also it beats cyclical nature because if it's like a dog school, these dogs need to go like the way schools work is they can be all year. So always being open, always bringing in people, even during those like dead months. And then it satisfies the need for high quality pet services. So, do y'all have any questions about like these justifications or maybe something that you think this expanding the dog food would miss? I mean, not expanding the dog food, expanding the dog school would miss.
Not necessarily miss. I guess one concern I had, and you might be covering this later, was with expanding the dog school. I'm assuming that would mean like needing more staffing. So I guess like, do you think that kind of bringing in more customers could help offset that extra cost? I know we said we're going to increase revenue, but do you think like would we need to differentiate to like increase the cost of the dog school in order to offset those costs? Or do you think just doubling would be enough? I know it's a bit more of a specific question, but
Yeah, so these were questions I was like wishing that I had more like numbers or how
Mhm.
much like how many employees are assigned to how many dogs when they go to dog school. Like per employee, how many dogs can you have signed up? So I like wish I had those numbers, but the way that I'm thinking about it is um I have a range here in a second. Actually, I can like skip I can go to this slide. So if we double the amount of dogs enrolled in school, the lowest monthly increase would be by 1,400, and that's if everyone signs up for the smallest package. And then the most would be like 2,300, and that's if everyone signs up for the most expensive package. And it would obviously be somewhere in between there because people will sign up for the other packages as well. And the way that I thought to obviously we're increasing revenue, but the way that I thought that we would offset that by not just having to like make that obsolete by increasing the same amount of labor needed was one of the questions it asked in the case, or the things that Sinha was wondering was how much should she commit to Rocks and Pebbles? She has this part-time job. What should she be doing? And I think that she should take the leap of faith and commit her time to Rocks and Pebbles full time because she already has like the network and the differentiation. Like she has a good product. She just has to have put in the time and the resources to like expand on that. So I think that if Sinha becomes a full-time worker and maybe like doesn't take a salary at first and also if we cut out the flexible pricing, be a little bit more strict on cancellation fees and that sort of thing, I think that this increase of revenue would offset the needed increase in labor. I'm not able to tell you like how much increase in labor this would need, but that was my thinking around it.
that makes more sense. Yeah, I guess that was like one concern because I know like staff needs like a lot of training, and Sinha was mentioning how it's hard to find people. But I like the kind of like enrollment plan. I feel like that'll help kind of offset those costs. So yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, thank you. I'll
Okay.
go back to this slide to see.
I was interested in like capacity. So I don't know how many existing customers are interested in doing the dog school. And if there aren't as many, like how are we going to promote this? I guess was like more of my question.
Okay. So currently there's 20 dogs slash people enrolled in the dog school. So she was hoping to double that by adding another 20. And I think that because she has people in her community that are like they're promoters. They're really wanting to promote her business. They think of her very highly. Like, for example, they gave the story of there was an accident where there was a dog bite and she was able to like facilitate that um like in such a like good way and build a relationship with that person that they continue to come back to her store. So I think that if she was able to say, and I saw that you dropped something in the chat, Sonia. Okay. It said that 44 people.
Or no, that's just the max that the facility can hold. So if you are talking about doubling it, you said 24 total, so they wouldn't even need to like physically expand.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Thank you for reminding me of that point. And so, yeah, we wouldn't have to like invest in like a new facility. It would really just be like we need more people to sign up. And that is your question, like how we promote that. I think that that's something that Rocks and Pebbles is like set up to do very well. She has a differentiation, a, a lot of differentiation. She has a very loyal customers, and they have like a really like tight relationship built on trust. So I think a lot of word of mouth, a lot of people sharing it to their friends, and I think that she would be able to like double that pretty easily. And of course, we could utilize like the more like tangible stuff, such as like continued Google listing, handing out flyers, social media posts. But I really think that word of mouth would be enough to do it because like sending your dog somewhere is a very personal thing. So that's what I think is best.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so yes, I went over this revenue increase, and then this slide goes over um why I think that she should commit all of her time to Rocks and Pebbles. I was able to go over that a little bit well. I mean, a little bit as well. And yeah, so I highlighted this because staff is the biggest expense. And I think that if she commits her whole time to it, it would alleviate some of those costs and then allow her to focus on the things that will ultimately lead to more revenue, which is like those personal bonds she's built with her customers. And yeah, that's the last slide. The rest are just like for Professor Peterson's sake. But so, any other comments? Do y'all think that this is the best way to move forward? Anything? Do y'all feel good about the expansion? I'll just turn it to y'all for the last few minutes.
Yeah, I do like what you're proposing, especially what the slide that you have now. It's a bit relieving knowing that even if the cheapest packages are chosen, that we're still going to be gaining like a pretty good revenue. And especially like sticking to the core value of like the brand, which is focusing on the dogs. It was a good way to go as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I feel like all the bases are covered with this option, and I feel like it really sticks true to like Sinha's main mission, like the company's main mission of like serving dogs. I guess the one thing we would need to look at is with offsetting costs and like potentially bringing on new staff. Would we want to kind of train our current staff to be able to handle more dogs at a time, or would we want to onboard more staff? Which, like you said, Kinsley, we don't have the numbers for, unfortunately, but that would be something I'd want to kind of consider with this option. But overall, I think this would be the great way to move forward.
Okay, awesome. Thank y'all so much for like the insight and everything and answering questions and like having such good things to say. Um, hold on, I'll stop sharing for a second and I will